Dan Wolken from USA Today, covering college football, is on this story right now. Dan, welcome to the program. Can you explain where we are with the games this weekend for the military academies?
Yeah, well, because we're in this federal government shutdown, the Department of Defense yesterday said that all intercollegiate athletic activities at Army, Navy, and Air Force were suspended. Now, why did they do that? Does it really affect the budget of the federal government? That's sort of in question, but you basically have to do what the Department of Defense says, and unless they can figure out a way in the next 24 hours to end this government shutdown, then there's a good possibility that Army, Navy, and Air Force won't be able to play this weekend, and we're just going to have to sort of monitor it over the next day to see if there's any sort of alternative solution.
But is this more about cost or perception here of playing these games?
Oh, it's more about perception, no doubt. Army is a little bit different than Air Force and Navy. Navy, their athletic department is run by a nonprofit 501c3. So for football especially, they don't really use any sort of government funding. Air Force has a similar type of setup, but they're a little bit different. Like, for instance, yesterday, civilian employees in the athletic department were essentially sent home, including the athletic director, for a mandated furlough. So a lot of their support staff is not working right now at Air Force, and that's part of the issue. If they could get a way to pay for the trip, because they've got to fly to Annapolis to play this game, if they could pay for it with private funds, and I know that they're trying to see if that's even possible, then maybe they could get this game going. But, yeah, it's a mess right now.
Finish this sentence. If Army and Navy were playing against one another this weekend.
Well, it would be a lot bigger deal because that's the game, obviously, of the Service Academy set. And, but I don't want to shortchange the impact of Air Force and Navy because this was supposed to be a CBS game, nationally televised. There's a lot that goes into it. It's sold out. 40,000 people have tickets. To try to reschedule this for December would be a huge logistical nightmare. So, I think maybe a more concerted effort would perhaps be underway at the Pentagon to figure out how to do this, but I know they're trying to find an alternative solution to play this game. It's just the optics of having military football being played while the government is shut down, I know is something that Washington is a little bit uncomfortable with.
Is there a drop-dead date here for these games?
I think they got to figure it out by tomorrow at noon because otherwise the charter flight gets screwed up, and if they can't figure out a way to pay for it, or if the shutdown doesn't end in 24 hours, I feel pretty confident that they're not going to play this game.
Let me get the obligatory Lane Kiffin question in there for you. Firing him during the middle of the season, in mid-season, how does that an advantage for USC?
Well, I think it just sort of alleviates the negativity around the program. I mean, if Lane Kiffin has got to be fired, and I think we can mostly agree that was going to be the end result here, no matter what, that the point in keeping him on for the rest of the season is what exactly? At least now they can get to work on their replacement. They can get their ducks in a row, and they don't have to deal with the questions week after week after week about what's going to happen to Lane. I just wonder why Pat Hayden didn't do this after last season, because he had plenty of reason to do it.
And DeLoss Dodds stepping down as the athletic director at Texas, that's going to open that door. Can you imagine if Mac Brown would survive that, no matter what kind of season?
Really difficult, unless they do turn it around and somehow win the Big 12. But I'll be honest with you, I saw Texas a couple weeks ago in person, and I just don't think they're that good, to be honest with you. And they look like a mid-pack type of Big 12 team, and if that's the way it plays out, then they're going to bring in a new AD, and that AD is going to pick the next coach. And I feel bad for Mac Brown, like him, respect the work he's done at Texas. Very underappreciated, I think, the 10-year run they went on before this downturn. But once the momentum gets going downhill, it's really hard to get it going the other direction.
Good to visit with you, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, Dan. Thank you.
Dan Wolken, the USA Today National College Football reporter.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.